Alright, abusuami mincha na misan so mo akwa baso so efa wo emra eye channel so eha eda so ye be media gh abusua efa eye flight recorder mo so efre no eye black box no sense ma abusuafo eye ade expert for efre ya America ene eye Chinese na abusuafo eye ade His Excellency John Mahama say oboto omonsa cheso obeto nensa na ode afro mo na chese me say omuhu ekwan efa so helicopter ya abusua utumi ekwahwe from no abusuafo omo ahu na abusua Ghana for ahwe anim Ghana for bisa sensem said ti da ben pana black boss ye bibie so da ben na resource no ebeba da ben pana ye hwe anim bi abusua okuje tablo kwa eba abonten e de nsem bi e de betudwa nene ya de papa eye kusi pratt so aba e de nsem bi de abetudwa abusua nsem no de atudwa no abusuafo emu edu papa allegedly ochira ya che eye military officer baako ewo ye kumase abusuawo we de ma mekasa wa ma mekasa ye tenten pese ye ko ne tie nsem a ode atudwa na se wi na so ho adwenche bi a omode na ya che adwe hada so ye be media gh se enen de connect channel so a ne die ne obu kwan so e be so subscribe my bobo notification bell no so more podcast update ye nche ho ne ye kone kwete nsem a ye papa kusi pratt abusuafo ode aba abetudwa hada so ye be media gh etie no emra sese.
Well, listen, I saw the videos, and initially I didn't want to believe what I was seeing. I mean, a woman, and she's saying that they will kill President Mahama, put his body in a cocoa sack and throw it away, and thereafter behead Lordina Mahama. I mean, my goodness, what would make anybody speak like that? That's my worry. I mean, what is it that makes people speak like that? I mean, I don't want to believe that these persons spoke the way they spoke because they wanted to further the interest of NPP. Because it doesn't further anybody's interest. It doesn't. What does it do to them themselves? Nothing. It's just pure, absolute, reckless talk. Recklessness. Maybe the intention is to get more views on social media. I don't know. That's so reckless. But I think that this behavior need to be punished. We need to serve clear deterrent to others. We cannot live in a country where people just wake up one morning and they are threatening to kill and threatening to maim and so on, and nothing happens and we go on as usual. Something must happen. People must be told that there are consequences for recklessness. We need to do that. You understand? Now, there's a third person who was also arrested, and I'm told that is because of some investigations into some arms and so on. And then I saw something else on social media, and I've still not been able to confirm it. An allegation or some report from Opera News, actually, that a general had been arrested somewhere in Kumasi. Oh, it's been denied.
So the denial came on a platform that I am on with the Deputy Defense Minister.
So why is that denial not being made public? Yeah. Why is it on just some secluded platform?
Yeah.
Because if it's not true, we need to know that it's not true, because it's raised concerns. And people are calling me from outside the country trying to find out what is happening. Yeah. And especially as it's coming up at a time when there's an alleged military coup attempt in Mali and so on. I mean, the impression is not good at all. And somebody should be speaking to this. It's been 48 hours since this news was put out. If it's not true, why is it not being vigorously denied? And where is this sloppiness coming from? I don't know. I don't know. And I don't want to engage in a banter with everybody, but Suhini, you said something, and I've been sitting here thinking about it, and I'm thinking about it, and I'm very uncomfortable. I mean, do we say that everything that happens is with the permission of God? What kind of God is that? The things that have happened in the world. So the Hiroshima bomb, the Nagasaki bomb, was with the permission of God? What God is that?
I was quoting
No, it's a serious matter.
I was quoting Osaje for Dr.
No.
When during our independence, he said, we did everything to succeed with the permission of God.
It doesn't matter who you quote. The Hiroshima bomb was with the permission of God. God gave permission that the United States of America should use an atomic weapon in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. God gave permission for that. God gave permission that my good friends, 4 good friends, should die in this horrific manner. What? God gave permission that COVID-19 should happen and kill my brother? What kind of God is that? It was the late Dr. Percy who on this very platform and in this very studio described all religions as competing superstition. And I hope that Senna will remember that all of them are competing superstitions. And I think he was absolutely right. Now, you see, there are so many people who like to pose as experts on religion, and who themselves have not made any attempt to understand religion, its history, its ethos, and its practices. And these people constantly inflict their ignorance on us. And I want to believe very, very strongly that it is the manifestation of such crass ignorance which has led to that office which has been established in the Flagstaff House. And I'll proceed to explain. You see, sometime in history, and this is a historical fact, all the religious leaders, all of them, without exception, did not believe that there's a universe. They didn't believe that there's a universe. You read the Bible and tell me where in the Bible religion acknowledges that there's a universe. So they could not even go to the extent of believing the existence of a galaxy. And to the extent of coming to appreciate that there isn't just one galaxy, but many galaxies. How do you take them serious? Indeed, at a point in the history of human beings, the religious leaders believed that the earth was flat, and that if you walked in the same direction and kept going, you would fall into an abyss. And they claimed that God told them that. They claimed that God told them that. And to the extent that when Copernicus and others came and said, look, this earth cannot be flat, and that this earth is round, and that if you move in the same direction, you will come back to where you started from. They killed them for blasphemy. Copernicus was killed for blasphemy. Now, do you know something? If you believe that the earth is flat, and that if you keep walking, you will fall into an abyss, your movement is restricted. Your ability to acquire knowledge is restricted, because you don't want to go far to reach the end and fall into an abyss. Those were the religious leaders then. Now we know that God was not speaking to them. Now we know that they were ignorant. Now we know that if we followed them, this world would never have developed and would have remained primitive in the extreme. That's one. You see, there's a story in the Bible, and every time I go over that story, I feel sick, I feel weak. I begin to ask myself questions. The story is that God wanted to test the loyalty of somebody. All of you know that story. He wanted to test the person's loyalty. So God told him, take your son, take him to the mountaintop and slaughter him, cut his throat. And the man agreed. Caught his son, took him to the mountaintop, was going to slice his throat to please God. And God himself came and said, oh, now I know that you are loyal to me. Leave your son, take the sheep and slaughter the sheep. Today, all of you listening to us, and all of you who will listen to us later, if somebody came to you and said, take your son and cut his throat, and you did that, how can you ever live with your conscience? In any case, how would the laws of the world, not Ghana, the laws of the world deal with you? You'll be charged with murder and you'll be sentenced to death. Because we no longer believe in those prophecies. You can't go to any court in Ghana and say that God told you to go and slice the throat of your son and you did it. You understand? This is where we are. This is the reality that we have to accept. You see, recently I was speaking to a very, very senior medical practitioner. And he told me a story. And that story typifies perhaps the era in which we are today. There was a headmistress of a secondary school who was taken to the hospital unconscious. The doctors did all the tests and so on and found out what the problem was with her. This is a true story. So they began working on her and so on. After a week, the woman could walk. She could eat. She was recovering. Then her pastor went to the hospital to pray for the woman and told the woman that God has already healed her. She doesn't have to take her medicine and so on. She has to discharge herself. This woman believed in her prophet, left the hospital, and died a week later from avoidable complications. As far as I'm concerned, this prophet is a murderer and should be dealt with according to the laws of our land. You see, some time ago, I think it was during the war era, when we had problems with electricity supply. Now, it is clear that the origins of our electricity problems can be found in the February 24th, 1966 coup. You understand? Because by February 24th, 1966, the construction of the Bui Dam has started. The Soviet engineers had already moved to site. Their bungalows had been built and so on. After the coup, the Soviet engineers were arrested and sent back to their country. We abandoned the Bui Dam project. By 1966, Ghana had reached an understanding with the USSR to construct a nuclear plant to provide electricity for us. Indeed, the Buza government brought in a British expert who advised that Akusumbu was far bigger than we needed, and therefore we needn't add on to our generation capacity, and we stopped that project.